right, welcome everybody to the first general meeting for the University Secular Society of the semester. How's everybody doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's great to hear indeed. Just in case you are not familiar, my name is Garret. I am the president and co-founder for the University Secular Society. We had a similar meeting of this style really last semester. I promise you it's not going to be nearly as long. But just basically just some background on me. I and a fellow co-founder Mike Kelly, who's currently studying abroad in Ireland right now, basically crafted really an idea based off of meeting up for another student organization to really found an organization that could really serve something unique really on the University of Southern Mississippi, to be able to provide a space to be able to talk about things relating to scientific, religious, and as well as historical inquiry, and be able to do it from a secular perspective. There's nothing quite like this here at the University of Southern Mississippi, and it's definitely a younger organization since it was founded in the fall of 2021, but it is an organization that I feel has a lot of great net potential, as well as a lot of great, really just a lot of great pieces of the pie, or I guess puzzles that really just need to be formulated together in order to really make something really grand. It can seem as though right now it's a small organization, there's a lot of things that kind of need to be figured out, and to some extent that is true, but at the same time, something that I am very enthusiastic about is with the people that I'm working with who are on the USS cabinet, who have a vision about where the University Secular Society is to go, as well as optimism about where it is right now in terms of being able to minister to people on campus, in terms of being able to reach out to students, faculty, and staff who see the need for an organization like this to happen. And I am very appreciative to have several of those people on my side, not just with the cabinet. We have some members here right now with Alex and Madison, but we also have some very great supporters, such as with our faculty advisors, Dr. Vera and Mrs. Kelly Vera. It is very appreciated that all of y'all have been consistently coming to meetings, and your support is very appreciated and very valued. It's hard to start an organization, it's hard to kind of get the ground running with that, but your efforts as well as your passion into being consistent with coming to meetings as well as contributing in any way that you can, it is highly valued. So really from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you for that. And also for everybody who is here right now as a guest, I am so glad that you're able to come, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to also find a home here at the University Secular Society. For our mission statement, we kind of slimlined it down, but basically what we want to do is want to be able to foster a dialogue between religious and non-religious students and faculty on campus, something that we really had the absolute pleasure to do, especially last semester, was being able to talk with Equal Catholic, which is the Catholic student organization here on campus. We had a great dialogue, and I think both sides really gained a lot from being able to see from different perspectives, as well as learn a little bit more about each other. And kind of in the spirit of that as well, for our first event for the semester, which is going to be next Monday, we're actually going to have some missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints come in this room, and we're going to basically learn a little bit more about our respective organizations, as well as kind of build some, I guess, familial bonds of sorts, so we can know more about each other, as well as grow closer to one another, because again, it's about that dialogue and really that connection between religious and non-religious entities.
That's
also,
here 7 o'clock.
that is correct. Also, for our mission statement, we want to create an environment that is conducive to remaining objective and thinking skeptically on all matters. Just in case people are not as familiar with the term secular, it's basically more of an objective outlook and approach as relates to things of religion, science, inquiry, and basically that's something that we highly value as an organization. That's something all of our members value, and we hope that our cabinet members value as well, irrespective of their religious affiliations. And also what we want to do is we want to also be able to foster a sense of community between members, be able to talk with each other, be able to have casual conversations, such as trying to brush up on your Spanish as you were doing earlier, Alex, as well as being able to just talk about classes, talk about life, and just talk about things in general. Maybe go rock climbing one day, maybe go play video games one day, things of that nature. That's something that I feel like we can be able to do as an organization. It doesn't have to always be about kind of tackling the problems of the universe, or talking about religion all the time, or talking about history all the time. It can just be like everything else, just have a little fun. And for an intro into cabinet, Again, my name is Garret Grove. I am the president of the University Secular Society. Our vice president, Lana Kelly, like I was saying earlier, is on a study abroad trip to Ireland, and she is asleep right now. So she is unfortunately not able to join us.
We can fix that.
She told me not to.
Is she there for the semester?
Yeah, she's there
Okay.
for the semester. She told me not to wake her up. She loves the organization, but she also loves sleep. So
Maybe we should call her.
Just to be.
Yeah.
yeah, let's do that after the meeting. I really appreciate that. Also, for our secretary, we have Brooke Parker. For our treasurer, we have Alex Alford. And for our newest addition for the University Secular Society cabinet, we have Madison Honeycutt, who is our PR director. I'm absolutely ecstatic about what you've done so far for our organization and looking forward to working with you more for the future. For many people who were here for our initial meeting during the fall 2021 semester, you realized that this list was longer. It had 10 misconceptions. It took us about an hour to go through. I promise you this will be much faster. All right, and as you can probably tell, it's much more condensed. So the first thing I want to go ahead and go over right now is atheism/agnosticism is religion, therefore I can't join if I'm blank. There's a few things that are wrong with this statement. The first one being that atheism and agnosticism is not a religion. Yes, many religions such as Christianity and Islam do provide worldviews. If you're looking more so towards a worldview, maybe try secular humanism. But in terms of just atheism and agnosticism, those do not reflect worldviews. What they essentially reflect is essentially one question. Is there sufficient evidence that points to a God and them saying no or we can't know, things of that nature. So it has nothing to do with a set of ideologies. It only really deals with one essential question. And with the second part of the statement, therefore I can't join if I'm blank. Something that we have talked about incessantly really since last semesters is really people, despite their religious affiliation, can be more than happy to join and be invested into this organization. That is something that is extremely valued and is something that really just underscores the fact that we're really trying to reach out really across the aisle to talk more about these issues. The point of this organization, and this kind of goes into the fifth point, but the point of this organization is not anti-religion, it's pro-dialogue. So going into our second point, all non-religious people are the same / left religion for the same reasons. That is also not true. There is a big segment of the population who is not religious, who was never religious at all. That's a good thing to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that is definitely not the case. There isn't some sort of terrible sob story about, some terrible thing happening and then you become angry with God and hate everything Christian. That does not all reflect reality. And I think most of the people in this room recognize that. It definitely varies per person. It's a process that could happen as early as childhood, such as it did for people, say, Ronald Reagan's son, Ronald Reagan Jr., I don't know if anyone's familiar with him, but he is probably a very famous example of that. Also, it can happen later in life, as it does for a lot of people. It didn't happen until I was an adult. And for many individuals, can happen much later into adulthood as well. But it also just really varies for a plethora of reasons as well. I think reasons that it is not necessary to go into, but the premise that they left religion for the same reason is not correct, as well as all non-religious people are the same. Look, with non-religious people, they have the capacity to be good, upholding, and loving people, just as religious people do. And they have the exact same capacity to be absolute pieces of crap, just like religious people can. There really is no difference in terms of there being a correlation between non-religious people having no morals and religious people having all the moral authority. That's just non-existent. And that goes into our third point, non-religious people have no sense of morality. Does anyone need me to confound on that in any way? That is a big thing, and that goes into a whole nother thing, such as with objective morality, which is a whole nother discussion. But this premise that non-religious people have no sense of morality or no sense of moral code, that is also just false. I always like to say that the answer to this question kind of stems and it really parallels the same ways as the ignorance from this question really stems from. I got my sense of morality from the same place you probably got your sense of ignorance if you're asking this question, from multiple sources. Look, as someone who was formerly Christian, yes, Christianity has definitely been something that has been important for me, definitely been something that I cherished when I was a Christian, and definitely was in part responsible for some of my moral values, as well as some of my connections with people, as well as my establishment to be a good person. But it was not the only source. It came from a plethora of sources that, even to an extent, that Christianity could not provide for me. So to say that this is some concept that just like you cannot be moral or be good because you're not religious is just false. And going into our fourth point, non-religious people have no sense of purpose or hope. And by the way, with all these blue text, these are just links to basically articles and basically research basically supporting these claims. And in fact, with research that shows that people who are not religious even have a better appreciation for the cosmos than people who are. One of the links right there on the screen point to that. But I'm going to also send this out towards the end of this presentation. So if anyone's interested in looking at this PowerPoint, they are more than free to. And for the fifth point, this organization hates religion and religious people no matter what front they give to the rest of the world. I understand that no matter what I say, there are going to be some individuals who truly believe that this is an organization that is intended to basically disband every single religious organization on campus. That is further from the truth. We seek dialogue between other religious organizations. We seek connection from these organizations. We also seek a partnership. We understand that, yes, we will differ on some things, but we don't hate them because they think differently than us. We don't say that, hey, you can't join these organizations because you're part of this society. We want them to be included. We want them to be part of the dialogue. We actually even encourage members of these organizations to also be members of our organizations. And also, we want people who are in this organization to also be vice versa or look at these other organizations as well. Because again, it's about open-mindedness, it's about objectivity, and we can be an organization in good faith telling people that we espouse and believe in objectivity and looking at things for yourself and tell you, hey, don't do that. So that is very important for our organization. And things to remember as well. This is just some general points as it relates to kind of inquiry as well as our organization. History gives us perspective on history, time, and religion. The thing about history is it doesn't always rhyme, but it really and truly often repeats. We can see throughout the course of time, as well of course of structure for government and the institutions of religion, the institutions of really just thought, that a lot of things parallel, and a lot of things basically copied and pasted from each other and then claimed that they were the originators of this, such as governments and other things. And this entire premise, this entire concept really occurs throughout history. And something that we definitely value and something that I think I can definitely talk about is how these things occur and how these things occur as it relates to history, as it relates to really empires, as it relates to religion. And there are definitely a plethora of authors, a plethora of writers who also talk and go over the same things. If you need some book recommendations, let me know after the meeting. Number 2, class consciousness is important. Is anyone familiar with the term? Any sociology majors in here? Anything like that?
Less familiar, but not much.
Okay, so essentially what class consciousness is a familiarity with your place in the society that you live in, as well as a general familiarity with the people around you who also recognize the same thing, and basically kind of how structures work that kind of brought you into this position and kind of brought you in perspective to how things are instituted. A good example of this as well is, hate to beat the bush on this so much, but I think religion is a great example of this. In the United States, Christianity did not happen by accident. And say countries like Saudi Arabia, Islam did not happen by accident. It's something that occurred over the courses of really millennia with the installation of regimes that propped up the religion, with the institution of wars that fought over, not over other religions, but specific tenets of the dogma, and basically the instilling of religion into certain populations that were subjugated by people who had greater military power, things of that nature. And being able to kind of put perspective on that is very interesting. But also a great example of this as it relates to politics. I think one of the most politicized terms ever, really, especially in the United States, is communism. And the thing that's really interesting, a lot of people don't understand, is especially with communism, this was actually something very popular within the United States, even 100 years ago. And what's actually happened over the course of time is we see how communism has become this sort of toxic term, which basically is associated with being rebellious against the country, being basically morally defraud of anything of moral value, being defraud of anything of substantive value at all, as well as just being, a commie, stuff like that. It's basically from McCarthy with, the trials that they did in the Senate to everything. Time you hear a particular politician talk about this is communism when they don't like something. It's also something that's very meticulous, and it's also very interesting to put perspective on. Also, the same thing can be noted with Marxism and other political movements as well. The third thing is that we want to also go over is no one knows the answer to everything. I'll be the first to tell you that I do not know the answers to everything. Sometimes you might see I talk a mile a minute, and maybe I do, but I'm definitely not the smartest person in the world, and I'm probably not even the smartest person in this room, to be honest with you. Yeah, really. There are definitely a lot of more brilliant minds in here than me, both sitting on the left and the right, and way in front of me on the other side of the table. So the thing is, I don't think anyone has the answers to everything, but this organization isn't espousing that they have the answers to everything either. There's some things that I truly believe really can't be figured out, especially within the course of our lifetime. But at the same time, we can get better at trying to figure these things out. We can get better at employing, methods of like the scientific method to kind of empirically look at the universe and world around us. And that can be instituted not just in the hard sciences, but also social sciences like psychology and sociology and things of that nature. And yes, it might not provide us with all the answers, but in time it provides us with just a little bit more, until we become more knowledgeable about the things around us. So we can use that knowledge to dispel falsehoods, to dispel misconceptions that we've held for decades, centuries, millennia. And yes, sometimes even when the answers are known or well supported with evidence, they're still rejected, but the evidence is still there. And it's kind of a great perspective to know, and really something to be understood, that this process is ongoing, and yet it doesn't happen as fast as we want it, or it's not as complete as we want it yet, but accepting that does bring some level of peace, at least for me. And for our last point, no one organization can supply all of your needs. We like to think that we can be an organization that can instill community, that can instill conversation, that can instill thought, but we're not saying that we can do everything. We're a great organization, but if you expect us to play flag football, I think you're going to be out of luck. That's just the thing. If you want to do things that are outside of the realm of this organization, I feel like you have every right to, and you should. This is not the only organization I'm a part of, and I imagine for our members, this is also not the only organization they are a part of. So please feel free to be part of other organizations, whether they be things like flag football or other intramural sports, whether they be things like other religious organizations, whether they be things just like watching Netflix on a Monday evening or whenever you're watching this video. That's fine as well. We're not saying that we can supply all of your needs. We're not saying that we can work wonders and change your life fundamentally, but what we are saying is that we can be a source of support, a source of guidance, and really do our best to guide you in the right foot forward if there are other resources that you do need. And for some next steps, we invite people in this room to do a plethora of things, to follow us on social media. What you will probably see on the table right here is you see barcodes. Basically, if you use your phone and scan all the barcodes, you'll be taken to a link to our Patreon, you'll be taken to a link to our Twitter, our Instagram, and our YouTube channel. So I would highly invite you to scan those links once the meeting is done, and even right now if you would like to, and basically follow us on all platforms. For people who are interested in becoming members, please stay after the meeting and we can go into the intricacies of how the Patreon membership dues system will work. And of course, another thing as well, feel free to subscribe to the emailing list, which is basically if those who are interested are subscribing to it. The list is on the table. Just feel free to sign it. There should be a pen by each piece of paper, so you will be able to do that. Also, once you become a member, you're more than welcome and free to join our group me. This will be a great way for us to communicate with you, especially with upcoming events, things of that nature, and also to be able to build a sense of camaraderie and community with other members of the organization. Also, tied to that, contribute to the Patreon, which is also a tenet of membership. Interested in membership, talk to me after the meeting, we'll discuss that. And also, be sure to get others to join. This is an organization that we feel very passionate about, and we definitely want this organization to grow. And we definitely hope that the people in this room definitely gather and draw something from this organization, and feel free to share that with others. Feel free to share this experience, to share this perspective, especially the people you feel like could really benefit from this, really learn from this, and really grow from this. And in summary, this is just kind of a general overview of what we've talked about today. The University Secular Society seeks to advance public discourse on topics related to religion, history, and scientific inquiry for the USM community at large. It will also allow the USM community and members of the organization to be in a safe space and to voice their beliefs and issues with religion in this space. It will not minimize it, ridicule it, or turn it into a pitch to join a different church or temple, or basically go into a different ideological camp. We're not going to tell you to be Republican or Democrat. We're not going to tell you to basically do any of those things. We're basically going to do everything in our power to provide you with the information as it relates to a plethora of issues and for you to go from there.